says if I have a whole number, like 1 and 1/4, and I want to regroup it to subtract, there's a couple ways we can do things. I'm going to give you an example. Let's take, let me make it a little bit simpler. Hang on a second. Let me go back. Okay, well, I'll start there. We've started with regrouping about making a mixed number into an improper fraction, multiplying 4 times 1 and adding the extra and getting 5/4. That's a way of regrouping this together to make it into an improper fraction. And we're going to have to do that when we multiply and divide mixed numbers, but it also helps you to be able to subtract numbers that are mixed numbers or break down a whole number into a mixed number so you can subtract. So I'm going to give you some examples. If I have 2 wholes and I want to take away 2/3, I can regroup this 2 into a different form so that I can subtract. And we've talked about this before. I'm going to take 1 unit from the 2, just put it here because I'm not going to need it. I'll just put it to the side. I'm going to take the other unit and I'm going to break it into thirds because that's my denominator over here. And I'm going to make 3/3. These two, the 2 and the 1 3/3 are equivalent because I have 1 whole, that's one of the groups, and 3/3, 3 out of 3, that's the other group, but it's into a fraction form. So now I have a mixed number, 1 3/3, which equals 2. But now I can take away 2/3. 2 from 3, just like we've been doing. And nothing here, right? 0. 0 from 1 gives me 1. So that's one way you would use regrouping. Let me do another one for you like that. If I have a whole and I want to take away 1/4, I can take the whole number. Now this one I had 2, so I could break it into a mixed number, but I have a whole number. I can convert that whole number into a fraction. Any number that's the same on top and the bottom makes a whole. 7/7, 5/5, 100/100, all of those are going to make a whole. But because my denominator is 4 and we have to have common denominators to subtract, I'm going to make it 4/4. Now I'm set up where I can subtract the 1 from the 4 and get 3/4. So that's one form of regrouping. When I have a whole number and I'm trying to subtract a fraction from it and I want to break it down so I can do that, those are 2 examples of how you would regroup. But now let's look at when we have a mixed number on one side and a mixed number on the other side. How do we do that? So let me show you some examples of that. Okay, this is called regrouping. And I'm going to give you 2 ways to do it, and you're going to choose. I always try to give you a couple examples of ways you can do stuff, and then you choose what's easiest for you. All right? So let's take another example. I have 5 and 1/4. This is all having to do with subtraction only, okay? Now, we looked before that we know we have to find common denominators. So let's find our common denominator. It's going to be 4. Because 2 times 2 is 4, so I can make that into 4. This one doesn't change. This one I'm going to multiply by 2. I'm just finding common denominators like you've been doing. Okay? Now we have our 2 fractions. Now here's the dilemma. If you look at these fractions, I'm going to do it in a different color. You see we have a 1 here, and we have a 2 here. Well, think about it. 1, take away 2. Can I take 2 away from 1? Because I can't do commutative property. I can't take 1 away from 2. Right? I can't flip-flop it. Only addition and multiplication can I do that. So I'm at a dilemma where I can't take 2 away from 1. Think about it like this. If you're doing a whole number, let's say we had 21, take away from 21 2. The same thing is true. We can't take 2 away from 1. We have to borrow, right? When we're doing our regular subtraction. Well, the same thing is true with fractions. I can't take 2 away from 1. So I have a choice. Here are my 2 choices I'm going to show you. I can take 5 and 1/4 and convert it into an improper fraction. and convert 3 2/4 into an improper fraction, and then subtract and change them back. So I'm going to show you that method first. 5 times 4, I'm regrouping. 5 times 4 is 20, plus the 1, right, is 21/4. I just made an improper fraction. Okay, I've already got common denominators, so I'm just making improper fractions. 3 times 4 is 12, plus the 2 is 14/4. Now I've regrouped all these whole pieces and cut them all up and thrown them up in here into the top. So I have 21 pieces. Now I can subtract 14 from 21. So I can come over to the side and I can do my 21 minus 14, do all my borrowing. Whoops, sorry. And I have 7/4. My final piece is I have to simplify that. Okay, so we know when it's improper, I've got to do top dog in the house. 4 goes into 7 once. 3 left over, that becomes my fraction. This is my whole. Okay, so my final answer is 1 3/4 because I can't simplify 3/4. So let's walk through it again. After I find common denominators of my mixed numbers, when I'm subtracting, okay, finding my common denominators, I look at the numerators, and if this numerator is bigger than the one I'm subtracting from, I have to convert it into an improper fraction so that I have enough pieces to subtract one mixed number from the other mixed number. Okay, I can't just take 3 away from 5 because 2 can't take away from 1, so I have to borrow from the 5. All right, I'm going to do another one like this, and then I'm going to show you one other way that is also an acceptable way to do this. The second way is the way I like to do it, but you'll see a lot of times this method too. So let me go through and let me erase, and I'll show you another one like this. And then I'll show you the way I like to do it, only because I like things simple and I don't like to have a lot of numbers I'm dealing with. But you can work it either way. You need to decide which is best for you that you want to do, okay? All right, here we go. We'll do another one like this. 1 4/9, take away 2/3. Now I don't have a mixed number here, but if I go first, I have to find my common denominators, right? So let's do that. Let's change our color. Okay, my common denominator is going to be 9 because 3 times 3 can make 9. Always look at this number, and if this number can be converted into, multiplied to be made into that number, I'm going to go with that. So I've got my 9, 1 4/9. I'm going to change this to a denominator of 9. Whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. Okay, we're back to the same problem though. We're subtracting. I cannot subtract 6 from 4. And you cannot go backwards, remember, so I can't take 6 from 4. I've got my common denominators, so I'm going to convert this one into a mixed number. So 1 times 9 is 9, plus 4 is 13/9. Still common denominators, and I have my 6/9. Now that I've pulled that one whole into this fraction, now I can subtract. So 6 from 13, 7/9, and that's already simplified. I can't go any further. That's my final answer. So sometimes you're going to borrow from the number over here by bringing it into an improper fraction so you can subtract. And sometimes it won't be two mixed numbers. One will just be a fraction and one will be a mixed number, and that's fine. But you have to be able to pull in from this, convert this one whole into pieces so you have enough to subtract. And that's called regrouping, or I call it like borrowing with fractions, basically, just like you've been borrowing with regular numbers. Okay, so I'm going to show you this problem, and I'm going to show you it. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to show you a method that I like, and you can see if it makes sense to you and you want to do it. Okay? So here's how I look at it. I look at it, I have one whole pie. Let me just do this a little bit darker. Okay. Okay, I have one whole pie, and I have 4 ninths. okay? And I'm going to convert both, I'm going to get my common denominators, and then I have 6/9. So think of it in this way. I have a whole pie over here, right? And I want to borrow, I want to take this whole pie and I want to cut it into pieces and add those pieces to this fraction. So this whole pie basically becomes 9/9. And I'm going to show you how it works with other problems a little bit better than this one, but we'll do this one first. This one whole becomes 9/9 because remember, any fraction that has a numerator and denominator the same is equal to 1. And because we're working with denominators of 9, I'm going to stick to 9. And basically what I do, go back here, come on. Okay, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 9/9 and I'm going to add it, I'm going to get rid of it here, and I'm going to add the 9/9 to this fraction. I'm just going to add it together. So that becomes 13/9. See how that is over here? And then I subtract. Okay? I don't have to go through all this process. And I subtract. Okay, so that's very similar to what we did over here, but watch it when it's a bigger number. Let's go back here. Watch what happens. Let me get this to. Well, there we go. Okay. Watch what happens when it's a little different setup. We'll go to the one we did before. Okay, let's do 5 1/4, take away 3 1/2. Okay, before we converted these both to improper fractions, we took all 5 of these and we cut them up into chunks of 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. 5 groups of 4s. Okay, and then we came over here and we're going to get our common denominator 4. And we converted the 3 whole pies here into fourths and added all those slices together. So we ended up with a bunch of slices up here, and we converted these to fourths, and we ended up with a bunch of slices up here. Okay, the method that I like is I don't need all these holes to be cut up. I don't need all of them. I just really need one more pie from over here to be cut up and put in here so I have enough to subtract. So one way you can do it is like this. I call it borrowing with fractions rather than regrouping everything. I come over here to the 5 because I need to take 2 away from 1 and I can't subtract that. So I come over to the 5 and I borrow. I turn this into a 4. And I take the one pie that I took out of there and I cut it into 4/4. That's the same thing as one whole. And I add that one pie to my fraction. Just the one pie, not all the pies, just the one. And I get 5/4. So now I've taken, instead of 5 1/4, I've taken one pie and I've added it to the fraction, and I have 4 pies left on the shelf and 5 slices of fourths. Okay, so I just took one from here rather than converting all of it. And I don't do anything to this one because I don't need to convert it. Now I can subtract. 2 from 5 is 3/4, right? Those fractions. And 3 from 4 is 1. So I don't have to convert it to an improper fraction and then convert it back to a mixed number. All I'm doing is borrowing 1 unit from over here to make this grouping a little bit bigger. Just enough to make it bigger, kind of like you borrow when you're on whole numbers, just to grab 1 unit and bring it over. Okay? Let me do another one like that so you can see. You can go back and re-watch if you need to re-watch so you can kind of make sense of it, and we'll go over it too. Okay, let's do 5 3/10, take away 1 4/5. First thing always, I'm going to find common